fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The forest tasted of crushed berries and an ancient, metallic sweetness that clung to my tongue. Each breath pulled in damp moss, night-blooming jasmine, and the iron tang of blood seeping from the roots, a scent I'd come to associate with the wildwood's restless power. The air was thick, almost viscous, as if the night itself were a liquid I could swim through. Elder Leora's warning rang in my mind, clear as a bell. Witches are dangerous, Mara, but the most dangerous are the ones who want to be found. I hadn't understood then. Now the trees leaned closer, their branches whispering in a language older than any song I've ever learned. Their leaves rustled like a choir of forgotten voices, each syllable a promise of both ruin and revelation. I had faced shadow wolves that melted into darkness, their fur a living void that swallowed light, and serpents that sang in bone-cracking tongues, their scales glinting like shards of moonlight. Yet this felt different, like falling into a void that was both terrifying and intoxicating. The ground beneath my boots seemed to pulse, a slow heartbeat that matched my own, urging me forward into the unknown. Ahead, a clearing throbbed with a raw, demanding energy, a drumbeat that resonated in my chest. Fireflies spiraled, their amber light weaving words in the air. Mine, all mine. The mantra coiled around my thoughts, a heat that lingered on my eyelids, a whisper that tried to claim my very soul. Kale stood beside me, lean muscles sheathed in dark leather that seemed to drink the surrounding shadows. His storm-gray eyes flashed with a quiet intensity that made the air feel heavier. He brushed a stray lock of midnight hair from his face, and the motion sent a shiver down my spine. I could see the faint scar that traced his jaw, a reminder of battles fought and won. Eric moved with a predatory grace, his steps silent on the leaf-covered ground, a cruel smile promising danger and delight. He tilted his head, studying me with amber eyes that seemed to read every secret I tried to hide. "You look beautiful when you're scared," he murmured, his voice a low purr that vibrated against the bark of the ancient oaks. Between them, on a throne woven from vines and night-blooming jasmine, Rylan lounged, his dark aura pulsing like a living spell. He lifted a hand, and the magic that bound my wrists tightened, yet a spark of defiance flared within me. I could feel the heat of their bodies, the electric brush of their fingertips, and the intoxicating pull of their power. The vines that coiled around my arms glimmered with runes, each one a promise of obedience, each one a challenge to my will. I inhaled deeply, tasting the metallic sweetness again, and let the forest fill my lungs. The scent of wet earth rose with each exhale, mingling with the faint perfume of night-blooming jasmine that seemed to emanate from Ryland's throne. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum that threatened to drown out the whispers of the trees. "Mara," Kale said, his voice cutting through the hum of the clearing, "you know why we're here. The wildwood does not give its gifts freely. It demands a price." I swallowed, feeling the iron tang of blood on my tongue, and answered, "I know, but I will not be a pawn in your games." Eric chuckled, a sound that sounded like cracked glass. "Oh, you'll learn soon enough that there is no escaping the wildwood's will. It sees you, it knows you, and it will bind you until you break." Ryland's eyes flickered, a violet flame dancing within them. "And yet," he whispered, "you stand here defiant, still breathing. That is a kind of power, Mara." The words struck a chord deep within me. I could feel the vines tightening, the magic humming against my skin, but also a surge of something else, an ember of resolve that refused to be snuffed out. I closed my eyes, letting the forest's chorus wash over me. The rustle of leaves became a lullaby, the distant hoot of an owl a metronome. I could hear my own pulse, a steady rhythm that anchored me to the present. In that moment, I remembered Elder Leora's teachings. When the world tries to bind you, find the thread that cannot be cut. I reached for that thread, for the part of me that had survived countless trials, each scar, each loss, each whispered promise of love and betrayal. I felt the heat of Kale's hand on my shoulder, his grip firm yet gentle, as if he were offering both protection and a challenge. "You think you can resist us," Eric said, stepping closer, his breath warm against my cheek. "But you are already ours. The wildwood has marked you, and we are its keepers." I opened my eyes, meeting his gaze. In the amber glow of the fireflies, I saw not just a predator, but a man who had been shaped by the same darkness that now threatened to consume me. I saw his longing, his hunger, and the flicker of something softer hidden beneath the surface. "You're wrong," I whispered, my voice steadier than I felt. "I am not yours. I belong to the forest, to the wind, to the stars that watch over us. I belong to myself." A sudden gust of wind swept through the clearing, scattering fireflies like living stars. The vines around my wrists shivered, as if the forest itself were listening to my declaration. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to hold its breath. Kale's hand tightened on my shoulder, his thumb brushing the scar on my neck. "Then prove it," he said, his tone softer now, almost reverent. "Show us that the Wildwood's power can be yours, not ours." Rylan rose from his throne, the vines parting like curtains. He extended a hand, palm open, a swirl of dark energy spiraling around his fingers. "Take this," he offered, "a fragment of the Wildwood's heart. Use it to carve your own destiny." I hesitated, feeling the weight of his offer. The fragment pulsed with a deep, resonant hum, a rhythm that seemed to echo my own heartbeat. I could feel the raw magic thrumming against my skin, a promise of untold power and an equally potent danger. Eric stepped forward, his eyes never leaving mine. "You can't trust him," he warned, his voice low. "His gifts are always a leash." Kale placed a gentle kiss on my forehead, his lips warm against my skin. "Trust your heart, Mara," he murmured. "It has guided you through darkness before." The forest seemed to lean in, the ancient trees holding their breath, the night blooming jasmine releasing a sweet perfume that swirled around us. I could hear the faint crackle of magic, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a night bird. I reached out, my fingers trembling, and touched the fragment. It was cool, like moonlit water, and yet it thrummed with an inner fire. As my skin made contact, a surge of energy shot through me, lighting up the clearing with a soft, violet glow. Visions flooded my mind, memories of childhood runs through sun-dappled glades, the first time I felt the Wildwood's pulse beneath my feet, the night I first met Kale, the moment Eric saved me from a collapsing cavern, the whispered promises of Rylan under a sky of falling stars. Each memory was a thread, weaving together a tapestry of who I was and who I could become. I felt the vines loosen, the magic that bound my wrists loosening its grip, as if the forest itself recognized my claim. The fragment pulsed in my palm, a steady beat that matched my own. "You have chosen," Rylan said, his voice a blend of admiration and something darker. "You have taken the Wildwood's heart and made it yours, but remember, power is a double-edged sword. It will test you, shape you, and perhaps even break you." I lifted my head, eyes blazing with a newfound fire. "I will not be broken," I declared. "I will forge my own path, even if it means walking between the shadows of you three." Kale smiled, a rare, genuine smile that lit his features. "Then let us walk together, not as masters and slave, but as allies." Eric's grin widened, his teeth flashing in the firefly light. "A partnership, then. I can live with that," he said, his tone laced with mischief. Rylan inclined his head, the violet flame in his eyes softening. "Very well, the Wildwood will watch, and so will the stars. Let us see what you can become, Mara." The clearing erupted in a chorus of whispers, the trees singing a hymn of ancient power. I felt the forest's breath on my skin, cool and comforting, as if the very earth were cradling me. The fragment in my hand glowed brighter, its light spreading through my veins, igniting a fire that was both fierce and gentle. I turned to face the three men, my heart pounding with a rhythm that was now my own, not the Wildwood's. "We will face whatever comes together," I said, my voice steady, resonant. "We will carve our own destiny, not just survive but thrive." Kale stepped forward, his hand reaching for mine. The touch was electric, a spark that traveled up my arm, grounding me in the present. "Together," he whispered. Eric placed his other hand on my shoulder, his grip firm yet warm. "Together," he echoed, his eyes shining with a fierce protectiveness. Rylan lifted his hand, the violet flame dancing across his palm, and brushed it lightly against my cheek. The sensation was like a kiss of starlight, fleeting yet unforgettable. "Together," he said, his voice a low chant that seemed to merge with the wind. The night deepened, the stars above twinkling like distant eyes watching our pact. The Wildwood, ever watchful, seemed to sigh, its ancient breath settling into a rhythm that matched our own. We stood there, three men and a woman bound not by chains but by choice, the forest around us alive with possibility. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and wonder, but for the first time in my life I felt the weight of destiny lift, replaced by a lightness that came from knowing I was not alone. As we turned to leave the clearing, the fireflies swirled around us, forming a luminous vortex that guided our steps. The vines that had once bound my wrists now curled gently at my feet, as if offering a blessing rather than a shackle. I glanced back at the throne of vines and jasmine, now empty, its power transferred, its purpose fulfilled. The wildwood whispered one final promise: "You are the storm, Mara. You are the calm. You are the heart that beats within these ancient woods." With that, we stepped forward, the forest opening before us like a living tapestry, each leaf a story, each breath a promise. The night was ours, the stars our witnesses, and the wildwood our ever-watchful guardian. And as we walked, I felt the truth of Elder Leora's warning settle into my bones. Witches are dangerous, Mara, but the most dangerous are the ones who want to be found. Yet now I understood that the true danger lay not in being found, but in surrendering the fire within. I would not be theirs forever. I would be mine. The journey had only just begun, and the wildwood sang a new song, one of love, power, and the unbreakable will of a woman who dared to claim her own destiny.